Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Buddy Conversations with me, Loverly Sheridan. Okay, so this is the second episode, and if you have seen the first episode, you know I was extremely nervous, and of course, it was just an introduction into what Buddy Conversations is all about. Now I am a little more relaxed, primarily because I have a few guests in the studio with me today, so I am really excited. We have Mark Goldman and my wonderful sister, baby sister, Shanta Mathrin. And they're both from Palm Beach County Schools. I'll not tell you what specific school, but they both work at Palm Beach County Schools. And I will tell you a little bit more. We will delve into why we are here today. But first, I want to say thank you for those of you who have subscribed to the podcast, those of you who are tuning in, those of you who have been participating in our buddy conversations. I have been releasing a few shorts online, and you guys have been engaging. And I think you realize that there is a need for us to have open conversations about issues affecting children. And this is what this podcast is all about. I feel very comfortable with this second episode because we are getting into the gist of why I started this podcast. It is to have open conversations and solutions about the issues affecting children in today's world. So in today's conversation, as I said in the last episode, we are going to be talking about the dangers of the internet, child safety, and ways that some of the problems or the issues that children are facing on the internet that we should be concerned about, we should be aware of. We have our expert, our professional, Keyshawn Evans, which I'm so grateful for, who submitted a video telling us a little more about the issues that are affecting children, on the dangers of children on the internet that parents need to be aware of, and he provided a few solutions.
Hello, Lovely. I'm thrilled to be here to share with you and all the parents listening some techniques and strategies to help protect our children as they compute online and use apps and things like that. Some of the most pressing dangers of our time are trying to protect our children as they go about and use apps and compute and use social media and things like that. So let's empower ourselves with knowledge and tools to create a safe cyber world for our kids. Now, the three biggest threats to kids online are cyberbullying, exposure to inappropriate content, and online predators and stalkers. And what I want to do is talk about each one of those and break it down. So cyberbullying, this includes any form of bullying that takes place over digital devices. Kids can experience cyberbullying through SMS, text messages, text apps, online forums, social media platforms, gaming, where people can view, participate in, or share content. It can involve spreading rumors online, sending threatening messages, or posing, harm by posting hurtful comments or images as it relates to your child. So these are some of the things to look out for cyberbullying. Number two is exposure to inappropriate content. Well, the internet contains a vast array of information and media, not all of which is suitable for children. This includes sexual content, violent images, extremist views, or other adult themes. Children can stumble upon these either through web searches, social media, or through online advertisements. Either way, it's harmful to them psychologically. Online predators is the third one, and this is the most devious and the most dangerous threat to children. These are adults who use the internet to exploit and abuse children. They often disguise themselves as someone trustworthy or of similar age to the child, using social media, chat rooms, and gaming platforms to connect with them. Now, the aim here is to, range from engaging in appropriate conversation and soliciting explicit images to trying to arrange face-to-face meetings, which is the most dangerous. These are the three main types of threats, and kind of what I want to do is talk about some techniques to help you protect your kids from this. Number one is education and open dialogue. Teach digital literacy, educate children about the different types of online risk, including cyberbullying, exposure to inappropriate content, and the potential of encountering online predators. Understanding the environment they're navigating is crucial and probably the most important part. Secondly, encourage open communication. Foster an environment where children feel comfortable discussing their online experience without fear of judgment or punishment. This openness can lead to them reporting uncomfortable encounters or content. Whereas if you're very tight about it and you punish them a lot for things that happen online, they may not be open to sharing with you what their experience is. Right? Another thing is critical thinking skills. Help children develop critical thinking skills to discern the reliability of online information and the intentions behind messages they receive. Okay? Number two, use parental controls and monitoring tools. Parental control software is very powerful in helping you do these things. So you want to look for that software for the different apps that you utilize and invest time in learning how to use that parental control software properly. There's also things like safe search settings that you can enable in the kid's browser, which prevents them from stumbling upon some of these threats. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of it you can minimize just by enabling these protection mechanisms in their web browser. Also, monitor social media use. Keep track of your children's social media profiles and the content they're posting or interacting with. Ensuring privacy settings are appropriately set. Third, you also want to think about secure online practices. Strong privacy settings is one thing. Guide children on how to use the privacy settings on all social media platforms to keep personal information private and control who can see what they post and other information, such as the stuff that may be in their personal profile. And lastly, you also want to make sure you teach them secure password habits. Teach them the importance of creating strong passwords and the dangers of sharing that password with anyone other than their parents or guardians. And then another thing that I want to talk about is making sure they understand what safe online interaction is. Instruct children to never share personal information, agree to meet someone they've only spoken to online without parental permission, or engage in conversations that make them uncomfortable in any way. Kids have a built-in defense mechanism, and it's very, very effective if they're just taught to listen to it. So if there's something that feels uncomfortable to them in any interaction online, then they should be taught by you that they need to stop that communication and come get you, no matter how big or how small it is. Hopefully, these things can help you in your journey to create a more safe and more enjoyable online experience for your kids. Now, in my career, I'm a vice president of product and portfolio strategy for a very large company that trains and educates the world on how to be safe online and how to be safe digitally. So I hope this has been helpful to you all, and I look forward to sharing more information like this with you in the coming future.
And of course, we have our in-house guests. My sister works as a behavioral specialist at the school, and she gets to interact with children, on a daily basis. So she's very much aware of some of the issues that children have to face with. And Mark Goldman works in the IT department for Palm Beach County Schools, and he gets to see and he knows a lot. So we're just going to have an open conversation. And as parents, I am a parent. My sister is a parent. Mark, are you a parent?
Yes, I am.
Yes, Mark is a parent. And just as parents, we are all concerned about the internet. We know that even though the internet provide an unprecedented amount of opportunities and it's like a virtual playground for children where they get to do and see so much at the same time, it is also very harmful. It can be very harmful and dangerous for them. So we are going to delve into this conversation. We hope you stick around. And of course, I would love for you to share. All this is about us sharing with each other so we can learn, we can be aware. For those of you, if there's anything that we're talking about, you have experience with it, or you'd like to share some of your experience or some of your knowledge, please write it in the comment section. We all learn from each other, so please feel free to like and share. Okay, so one of the first things that we watched a video from Kitron Evans, and one of the first things that he said about the dangers of the internet is that one of the first thing he said, the number one thing that pose a greatest threat to children are online predators and stalkers. And we have, I guess, also this falls on the human trafficking, right? So we are seeing more and more these issues are becoming more and more prevalent with online predators and stalkers. And the saddest part about all of this is that our children, they are not aware. They go on there and they're doing their own thing. They're not aware about the dangers of the internet and what they are exposing themselves to. And he said that is one of the things that, you know, that he wants parents to be aware of, is that the dangers of the internet. Yeah, so one of the things that he talked about is the most dangerous threat to the child is online predators and stalkers. And we're going to talk about that for a little bit. Children go online, they share, they interact with others. Sometimes, as much as we tell them do not interact with people that they do not know, these predators are getting very sophisticated with how they go around to try to connect with kids. And so one of the things that Keachon Evans said is to make sure that you have an open dialogue and conversation with your children. Talk to your children about online danger and what they should be aware of. What do you think about that in terms of talking to your children? Like in your line of work, what do you see? I mean, I know you're at the elementary school level, right?
No, I was at the elementary school level at first, which there was a few cases. There's a few issues where kids learned how to bypass the district's security systems, which they were able to find ways around it. But now at the middle school level, it is another game. It is they're finding so many different ways to get around and to get out into past security. And this is what parents, like, I know he had a lot of good information, but there are certain things that the kids are doing now. It makes it almost impossible as a parent to see what they're doing. Like I was telling you earlier, there's that VPN. They jump on.
What is the VPN like?
It's a virtual private network. That's what it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, it creates a connection to a good site. So now I'm connecting to the good site.
Mm-hmm.
Now from this site, I'm connecting everywhere else.
Okay.
So now all you see me doing is connecting to this one site. So you never see me. You see, all you see is me connecting to this site.
So you're saying the kids have found their way?
They have found ways around. And I'm a parent of a 16-year-old, which he knows how to do it. And normally in little games, they create these chats in video games where they're able to talk to each other in the game. So now you think it's just the game, but in that game, they're chatting in the game. They're making, and these are where the predators can lie. They can lie in the game, be part of the game, and you're thinking you're talking to an innocent person, and this person, and that person, you can't tell where he's at because he's using a VPN to connect.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's one of the greatest dangers is that a lot of parents are not, are not well versed on their way around the internet. You could tell them, you could send them all the messaging home, please be aware, download this app, do all of this. But I mean, besides them being busy and having so much to do, they're not aware of all that sort of, all the updates and the children have found, they know their way around the internet, and they know their way to sort of bypass so many things. So how, as a parent, how can you protect your children when they know more than you, essentially, I know that you work in a school population, for example, where there is a language barrier. Some of the parents don't speak very little English. Sometimes they have the children explaining to them, right? Mm-hmm. Explaining to them what messaging is coming home, what's happening. So as much as these parents would like to, maybe they look at the phone and they go to the phone company and they put up all those softwares there to prevent, some messaging from coming through. But all of the other stuff, they're not aware of it. So how can they protect their children when they know so very little?
And like you mentioned before, it's so important to have that conversation with your children, because the reality of it is parents are so busy working, right? And you give your child this electronic device, and you think they're on this side, or you're maybe in the kitchen cooking and they're sitting there supposed to be watching this and they're on something else. But if you have that dialogue with them where they know they can trust to speak to you about anything, good, bad, or indifferent, when those situations present themselves, they feel comfortable coming to you and comfortable having those conversations. Otherwise, they are just going to be prey into this big, vast, big internet space. So it is very, very important that we feel comfortable having these conversations. All the uncomfortable conversations, we feel comfortable having those with our children, because that is the only way we will know what is going on.
And I do like where with Matthew and working with these kids, you will see the difference. You will see their interactions at school. And I guess school is probably the best place for you to notify, like they will come talk to Matthew at school about something that's happening at home. How are they getting this information? How are they being bullied at school? Because another thing is they get bullied through these chats.
Right, yeah. Cyberbullying, we'll talk about that in a minute.
So they end up taking pictures of each other. I guess we'll go into that after.
Yeah.
But yes, how can you protect them? I don't know if you want to go to that now, but what is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, can you 100%? No, there's no 100% way here. This Comcast, AT&T have these, consider the internet at your home one way out. There's one way. They have to go through this little router at home unless they have cell phones, but they have to go through this one little gateway at home to get out. So you can communicate, you have control as a parent to this little gateway. So there is settings that you can apply in this gateway to prevent them from doing certain things. And like right now, there's certain sites, if my kids try to go on it, it will pop and say, hey, we had to block this site.
Okay. And what did you put on their phone? Did you go to the...
So on their phone, it would have to be, again, the phone account is through me. I can see every call they make. I can see, I'm logged into T-Mobile and I can see everything they've done through T-Mobile.
Okay.
Every phone call. So if somebody's calling, or if I see any erratic behavior, I can look into it.
Right.
I can get access to it because it is my account. I can call T-Mobile and say, hey, I need to see what this is happening.
So you could go in the back end, like you can log in and see the activity that is happening.
Activities that's happening. But they can enable hotspots, like on their phones, and they have internet without going through that gateway.
Right.
So that is another challenge. Like I said, it's pretty much almost, like I said, the phone, maybe you can add a password to where at certain points, the phone has to be off. At certain points, okay, you enable a passcode that they can't get into the phone and allow internet access through the phone. But besides being vigilant, monitoring them, having that conversation, as a parent, and just saying, hey, what's happening today? What's going on? Yeah.
And I think that's what Kichon Evans said. He said we need to have these critical conversations with our children, whether we would like to or not, because if we don't make them aware, he said, children have this built-in defense mechanism, so if you speak to them, if you share with them about things that they should be looking out for when they are faced with it online, they know. So they can advocate for themselves, or they could stand up, or they can be aware. But if we don't have these conversations, if we don't let them know what is happening, for example, that the predators, the stalkers, and, the exposure of inappropriate content, that's one of the things that they've been exposed to, the inappropriate content. And my heart breaks. It really breaks for kids in today's world, because you cannot unsee what you've seen. Think about when we were growing up. I grew up, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Haiti.
Oh, you Haiti?
I did. I grew up in Haiti.
And Shanta and I grew up in St. Lucia. And when you were growing up as a child, what was your childhood like?
See, there's all these, we had to make our games. We didn't have access to everything. We'd have to go run and play and do stuff, find stuff to do, not having everything at the tip of our finger, everyone telling us how to think.
Right.
So that was, and I grew up around a lot of brothers and sisters.
Right. You were outdoors, right?
Outdoors.
We were outdoors. We came back home just in time to eat.
Yeah. When the church bell rang, that's when it's your time to go back inside at
Yes,
6
you were
o'clock.
playing. Also, when you played with kids, you fell, you hurt yourself. There was no other parent that will get really mad and want to beat you up, or somebody wanting to sue you. So the climate have changed in the world, you know. So there's so many factors that limits how children really get to enjoy their childhood, which is the really sad part, because now their playground is a virtual playground. We had an actual playground outside where we would go out and play and make friends and socialize. And we see that a lot of kids now are struggling with their mental health, struggling with their social skills, because that's the real danger of the internet. That's what it has taken away. You know, children are safe with this little device. They're safe online. They're safe behind their controls. They're safe interacting with people, but not one-on-one. And so it has taken away so much. So that's another big component of the danger. Is like when the kids spend so much time on there, they almost like forget how to operate or function in the real world. Which leads me to my next question. Like, at what age do you think it's appropriate for children to be engaging online, to be on the internet? I know for me, my son, I didn't want him to have a phone, but his dad lives in Sweden, and he thought it was time that he needed to have a phone. So at the age of 10, we got him a phone. And that was the first time that he was able to go online and have the internet, have access to the internet. I did see the difference from prior. He would get in the car, grab his book. He was an avid reader. He would read, he would sit and get lost in the book. We would talk, he would share. I mean, it was from the time he got this device, I mean, even if I controlled it, even if I said, okay, this is enough time, even if you stop, but it's just not the same. And if I could go back, I would have probably waited another 3 years. But I don't know if there ever really is a right time, because the internet, you know, the phone, the device, that's the way the world is now. They need that. But what do you think about that? What are you seeing?
All right. Well, for me, I think it is something that is needed. It is something that is needed to navigate this new world that they're in.
Yeah.
They do need to know how to do it.
Right.
And again, by giving them this, they have to understand this is a big responsibility you're giving to them, that, hey, they're going to use it wisely. If we flip it back to school, and Matthew will have a lot more cases than I do, but right now in middle school, they will instigate a fight so they can watch you fight, pull out their phone, and record it.
Yeah, that's a big one. Oh, God. Yeah.
But teaching them, hey, be careful of your surroundings, because always somebody gonna try and watch and record you. And the reason I'm giving you this is for a specific purpose. It's for us to stay in contact, for me to know where you are if you need help. And again, we can limit how much data they use. That we, as parents, there's data control. We can say, here's what they can and can't do on the phone. So these are some of the things. But how old? That is very hard to say. Honestly. That is up to each individual parent.
And I guess each child too. Some children are very mature and responsible at a certain age. You have to know your child and know what you think that they are capable of being able to handle. But what age is your child?
My youngest, he's probably gonna, if he sees this, he's gonna kill me for this story. So he was stuck on YouTube. He started saying bad words.
Okay.
Right? But he was stuck watching YouTube. He kept doing it. And when I catch him and I say, if you do it, let me see, I have my avid, it's right here, but I said not to do it, don't do it.
Right.
But he kept doing it. And he's probably 6 or 7. And I said, you do it, I'm kicking you out of the house.
Okay.
And he did it again.
How old was he?
6, maybe 6
Okay,
or 7 years
okay.
old.
I was like,
and I take the chance and I kick him out the house. Listen, I see him and my heart is breaking.
Yeah.
I'm watching him walk away. I'm like, go to your grandma's. I get so angry at him. And I close the door, kick out, and he's walking away. And I see him walking. He's dragging a little bag. And I felt, and I said, I'm gonna let him get to the end of the block, and I'm gonna go grab him. But it had to be really firm to scare him.
Yes.
Because nothing else seemed to work.
Right. So at what age did you?
About 10.
About 10.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you?
For me, my son's 10. He doesn't have a cell phone, but he's starting middle school next year. And I feel like I would have to, because then it'll be his first time riding the bus. So he would, need a cell phone to communicate. We are in the same school right now, so I didn't feel like there was a need for it. Um, I agree with Mark to the extent that yes, this is the new world, but I feel like there still should be guidelines. There's rules with everything, and there should be rules and guidelines when you do expose them to that. I mean, those social media sites have an age requirement for a reason, and then they say 16, but you see a 10-year-old with a page, and then you have adults in the comment section, commenting, and then people are, well, why are you picking on a child? Is it right? No, it's not. But the 10-year-old also should not have a social media page. So there's a reason why there's an age requirement. You think of Erickson's stages of development, and where they are at in that stage of development is a 10-year-old. I mean, at that point, they're going through what? Industry versus inferiority. I might be saying it flip, but they're still trying to build. That's why they build confidence. And then you put them out there for the wolves. That doesn't help. So I do think with certain things, there should be an age, right? Social media, no, not until they're probably in high school, well into high school. A cell phone, yeah, my son, yes, he'll have a cell phone, but during school time, it's only for making calls when there's an emergency. That way, he's not on the internet when he's at school, and so on and so forth. There on the you give them a laptop, an iPad. There should also be certain things that they're not allowed to go on, or time restrictions and so on, because you still do not want to expose them too much,
so
right? Because once they're there, it's hard to take it back. Like you say, once they've seen it, it's hard to unsee it. So, before I worked as a behavioral health professional, I worked as a child protective investigator, and I've dealt with cases of human trafficking where they've met individuals on the internet that has promised them things. Sometimes you catch it before, sometimes you're searching for them for days, and so many different things. So I do feel like slowly but surely, like then they can have more time. But as far as even under the age of 8, there's so much that they should be learning outside of the internet also.
And just what you said, I mean, finding that balance, that's the hardest thing, I think, any parent, if they're being honest, is trying to find that balance, because you want, even when you take the phone from them, it's hard for the parent, because you want to be able to keep in touch with them. If they go on the bus, if they're out there, you have to communicate. How do you, at the same time also, you say, oh, you know what, I don't want to expose them to so much, and I'm going to limit it. I'm going to take it away. I'm not going to give them a phone. But the world is open. And children, you know how they have this saying, protect your children from other children, because so many children are exposed to so much so early. And so you can either teach them, or they can learn from the world. And when they are learning from the world, you don't know how they are processing that. I know as a parent, I tried, I sheltered my son so much. As I said, he didn't have a phone until he was 10, and I would get him involved in a lot of outdoor activities and sports and all of those things. But then what happens is, when they get exposed, just as Shanta said, it's like, ooh, it's like, you never exposed them. And when they see it, it's just like, they get so, and I could see the shift. So he went through his own stage, just like you, where I had to threaten him a few times, where I had to figure out how do I, because it's so many things were so new to him, and I wish I had slowly just, exposed him to different things, because finding ways to handle everything that was coming at him at once, it was very hard. So this leads me next to the conversation of cyberbullying. That's one of the things Kitron Evans talked about, and all the research I did online is saying one of the main problems, the United Nations and UNICEF and other major governmental agencies are saying how much they want to focus more on cyberbullying, because it is a big issue. And I don't think children realize how much, not only are they affecting others, but also how much is affecting them. Because we know whatever they put there on the internet, it is never going away. And as a parent, I think any parent could tell, I know that's my biggest fear for my son. I tell him all the time, when we were young, we were allowed to make our mistakes. I think of all the mistakes I have made, and we were so fortunate to not have cameras, everybody in our face,
I
in our
really
face.
historically with that one.
We didn't have everybody just recording. You know,
Right.
even when we were growing up, you know, our parents, with their wisdom, when we did something bad, they would hurl us in the house and talk to us very soft because they didn't want the neighbors to hear. They wanted to protect us. Why? Because they knew that once this, whatever you did, if it gets out there, that's a label that will stay on you forever. And when you put a label on someone, it is so hard to break away from that. Like now, you know, I'm an educator, I'm a mom, I'm doing all these great things, but you don't just get there. You make mistakes, you do things, right? But now we were shielded from that. Our parents spoke to us, we grew, we learned, we did better. Now kids, everything that they do, I mean, educators, you know, we have cancel culture. We have all of those things now. So everybody's on heightened alert. My friend just told me that her son, you know, he plays this game with his friend and then he said to the kid, I'm going to kill you.
Oh yeah.
And they suspended him for 3 days. And I think of all the things that we've said. Think about it, all the things that we've said. Like, you know, there's like out of just when you're mad, I'm going to kill you. And you know, the world is different now. And so that's why I tell you my heart breaks for kids because they just don't have the childhood that we had growing up. You know, they're making their mistakes out loud. And if it gets out there, that humiliation, you know, that labeling and just not getting that first and second and third and even fourth and fifth chance that we did. It's really like one chance and you're done. And so just with the cyberbullying, just trying to protect kids really from themselves because, you know, yeah, go ahead.
There is, and again, I didn't see this in elementary school because they're really not allowed to have their phone out. So neither are they in middle school. But in one case where a student literally is in the locker and these kids take pictures of him
Wow.
changing.
Oh, okay,
And they
yes.
send it out.
You,
And by the time he reports it, the police came to me to try to go through the computer of the student that did it. It was gone. It was already out there. We could not get it.
get back. Yeah.
It was out there. It is gone. And once it's out there, there's nothing you can do.
You can do. And I think by the time these students realize, because they can be so silly.
Yeah.
Some of them in their maturity level can be so silly and they just want to play and have fun, you know, and do, you know, it's different now. Before when we did naughty things to the neighbors or to somebody else and we laughed, it was something we did and then we forgot about it. But now they take the pictures and they send it to others and the humiliation. So it affects that person, but it also affects them. And also the guilt sometimes that they feel when they do those things and just, you know, just from not thinking. And by the time they realize what they done, the repercussion is just so severe. But also that person that they did that thing to, like you said, they couldn't stop that
They couldn't
picture.
stop it.
So someone in the locker with that, who, you know, how can it affect that child mentally? So I think
For a
for
long time.
for
a long
But yeah, as a behavioral, I could see you see them every day. So you know what you are dealing with. And that's when I talk to kids about bullying. I tell them, you know what? You just never know how your actions are affecting someone. You might think, oh, I was just joking, but it can have lingering effects for a very, very long time. And I think it goes back again to what we're talking about, having that conversations with your children, making them be aware of not just the dangers of the internet, but the dangers of their actions and how their behaviors can not only affect others, but it can affect their future, their life, you know?
Because that mindfulness piece is just missing, you know, with children. I just had a conversation with a group on yesterday, Friday, on how they have to be mindful because they're picking on one student. It wasn't cyber, but of course it all goes together. And, you know, just having one by one, having them, you know, just speak on a time when they felt like they were being treated unkind or something was done to them. And it was that aha moment. They were third graders, but they don't stop and think of how would I feel if this was done to me. That mindfulness is just not there. They just go ahead. It's a lot of impulsivity. Okay, this is going to give me a good bunch of likes and shares and views and laughs. Let me post it, not thinking of how that is going to hurt or what that will do to that other person. And like we said, for a very long time.
And you're so right that impulsivity, you see that a lot now. Everything is intense in today's world and intense velocity. Everything is going so quickly. And kids, their brains, you could see, they just all over the place, and so they do things so quickly. By the time they realize what they've done and the severity of what they've done, it's too late. By the time they sit down and they're like, oh, I didn't even realize. And so then it just, it becomes something so much bigger. But you know what they say, prevention is better than cure. And so that's why it's so important for those early intervention classes, the social component, social soft skills, those classes are so needed, are so important to incorporate into the curriculum for children, because it is needed. Children are missing out. They're not aware, they're not aware of so many of the things that they are doing, so many of the actions. And all they are, we're not providing them with the tools. And what we're doing when they do stuff, we punish them. So what is, where do we take responsibility as adults? How are we failing those kids? Because we only get we're proactive. As soon as you do, okay, you get this is our policies. Did you know about our policies? You don't do that. But did they really know about the policies? Did you teach them and provide them with all of those soft skills so they can understand, their behaviors and actions? So that is something that we really have to be aware of.
Here's a question I have for Matthew. And so not only are we're protecting our kid, but we need to tell them, because it's someone's kid who's bullying that kid, those other kids. How do we see that as a parent and inform our kids, hey, this is how you need to treat this next student at school. You're not recording. Now, this kid who recorded that other student, what did his parents do? How could have his parents prevented him from saying, okay, this is a good idea for me to record a kid and send it out?
Well, a lot of my position is dealing with trauma, and the thing is, a lot of times I get backlash because I look at the bigger picture with a lot of students, and I know that behavior is a form of communication for children, right? So a lot of times when they're doing things, whether they're doing things that are right, whether they're doing things that are wrong, they're doing it to communicate something bigger that they're unable to. Because no child wants to be, and I don't want to use the word bad, but, do anything malicious just because they're not walking around like, you know what, I'm just going to come to school today and possibly hurt as many people as I would like. There's something bigger. So sometimes I do, not sometimes, I try, of course there's consequence and they have to learn that, but I give them grace in knowing that there's something so much more going on. Like you said, maybe they don't have the parent at home that is present, right? That is having those uncomfortable conversations with them. Maybe they don't have a home that they go to. So there's so many things that's probably building that anger and that insecurity, again, that is causing them to treat others that way. So you might, as much as we get angry with them, it's so much more that is going on.
And you're so right on that. I don't know if you remember that student we went to do a home visit on, and we get to the kid's house, and there was just mattresses all over the floor. They were all just sleeping on the floor.
Wow.
So and he was, for real, he was always a little bullyish at school.
Okay.
And we come to see why.
Why, right? And a lot of times that's why it's so important to go a little bit deeper, to go to the roots. A lot of times, one of the things I always say is that I don't believe that there are bad boys and girls. I believe that there are boys and girls making bad choices. Right. And that has a lot to do with so many external factors, or so many factors that oftentimes we don't even know about. So it is our responsibility as adults to try to get to the root of why this boy or girl is engaging in these bad behaviors or bad practices. There is something more. And just putting Band-Aids on deep wounds is not going to help. We're just going to have a reoccurring cycle all the time, just keep dealing with the same things. And so a lot of the issues with bullying and children engaging in bad behaviors is that we need to address the root, come to the root of what is going on with that child.
What are they trying to communicate with?
What they're trying to communicate, and provide them with the tools that they need to get them the help that they need for themselves. And most times that often include involving their parents, involving people from at home, having them speak to a counselor or a therapist, or see what is going on and see how you can reach that child and how you could get them the help that they need. But I think for every parent, you you try your very best to raise your child the best way you know how. And in today's world, parents are busy. Parents are busy. They have 2, 3 jobs. The economy right now is a place where parents just have to work 2, 3 jobs to survive. And a lot of children are raising themselves and they don't have that supervision. And then when a child is idle, can you blame them? If you are idle, even adults, when they're idle, they get into trouble, much less a child. They are idle, they get curious, they get into so many things. And as I said before, what they've seen, they cannot unsee. They cannot unsee
Right.
what they've seen and how it affects their brains and how it affects their behaviors. We start to see it in some ways. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time we see it, sometimes it's too late. One of the things that we didn't touch on, but I think it's so important for parents to know again. I remember taking my son, he was about 11 years old, to the doctor, and he started asking him these questions about sex and porn. And I was like, we're here for a physical. But the doctor was just really direct. And he said, right now, some of the biggest issues I'm facing, the parents are bringing in the kids that they're addicted to porn. They are addicted to watching all sorts of inappropriate behaviors online. They've already seen it and exposed. And the parents are like, what can I do? Not only are they being caught at home, but they go to school and they engage, or they tell the other kids, or they engage in those practices. So he was saying to me at 11, I mean, I didn't think, I was like, really, should we? I didn't even think to be having this kind of conversation. And to my surprise, when the doctor was asking him these questions, he knew what he was talking about. I was like, how do you know that? So we cannot assume that our kids don't know. As I said, they go to kids with other kids. They have the internet. They are aware. Your kids are aware. And if you shelter them like I sheltered them, and you don't expose them to a lot of, when they get that, they don't even know what to do with it. And sometimes, they're just like, so having that conversation, communication, whether we like it or not, there are some things that, I would love for you to share a little bit in the comment section. Like, how do you balance that with your children? For some parents, it's like, I don't want my kids talking about this at this age. I don't want to discuss with my kids yet. These things are out there.
Talking about it.
So what do you do? Share with us. How do you handle this?
If there are, I'm saying middle school, remember in elementary school, we had that one little couple that always sat and we always had to
couple? When you say couple, what do you
these 2 young 5th graders who were just sitting at the lunch table, almost you have
joint to the hip,
yeah, you got to kind of tell them, keep your hands above the.
Oh my God.
So we have this one little story that's this little girl comes to me and she's sad. These kids are walking by and kind of laughing at her, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "They're calling me duck lips."
Okay.
And I don't know how much we can get out, but long story short, the boyfriend takes a picture of her doing something and he posts it, and everyone's seeing it, and she felt. And these are the situations that's happening in middle school. If you're not having this conversation, I'd rather my kids hear it from me and me tell them, because they will see it at school, they will see it on the computer, they will find a way on the internet to get it. So I think my approach is have that conversation with them, because everyone at school will know about it. They will talk about it. They will know more than you think.
Yeah.
Because I've had that conversation with my youngest, and he knew more than I thought.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. Again, parents, dangers of the internet. There's dangers out there. You want to protect your children, but you have to be the first advocate for your child. And to do that is to communicate with them. The world, as you said, is different from how we know it, and we are forced to have some of these conversations, but we need to have these conversations, because we as educators, we are people working, we see what is going on out there, and you should never say never. Never assume. As you said, we can raise our children sometimes the best way in our own environment, but they still have to go out there and engage with children from different homes and exposed to many different things. And so, of course, they have the phone, they have the internet, they are exposed. And so you want to have these really critical conversation, pick their brains a little bit. Sometimes just see, what do they know? When you ask them about what is going on at school, oh, what did you do today or whatever, maybe try and find ways to go a little bit deeper.
Right.
Did anything exciting happen at school today? Are there any, exciting stories? And then from there, you start to hear about, other stuff. And then oh, they've been exposed to that. They know about it. And that is an opportunity for you to start to have that conversation.
Right. And reading is not even necessary for them to be able to surf the reading or write and surf the internet, because what you do, talk to text, Siri, what does this mean? And then Siri reads it out to them, so they don't even need to know how to read or write for them to spell, for them to get that information. So might as well have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
As they watch one video, it links them to another video, and they just can. It has suggestions, and the video just leads you off into its own little rabbit hole that it wants you to follow.
Okay, absolutely. Now, I really do hope that you guys took 5 minutes to watch Kitron Evans, his video providing some tips and solutions for parents, and also to be aware of some of the things as parents you need to pay close attention to. The whole goal of this podcast, again, is just to provide a platform for us to have this conversation, to raise our level of consciousness, for us to be more aware. I mean, we are all parents trying to juggle work and find that work-life balance and do the very best we can. And sometimes not until, for me, sometimes I read something and it's just like a light bulb for me and we are aware. So this is a space really, no judgment, no pointing fingers. It's just for us to really just be aware, to see what we need to pay attention to with our children, some of what is going on out there, and to share with each other so we can help each other. We cannot leave it just for the teachers. We cannot leave it just for the leaders, educators, or even for the parents. We have to work as a collective to address some of the issues, especially issues affecting children on the internet, because no matter how well you raise your kids, no matter how great your kids are, they are exposed, as I said, to all of it. And sometimes some of them don't have that emotional or mental capacity to deal with all that is being thrown at them. So parents, please be aware, and of course, have that conversation with your children. Any last words from you, my guest?
I guess make sure you guys check their history. They also engage in something called a virtual machine. It's like a virtual computer inside the computer. So they can do everything in that computer and just delete it, and you'd never know what happened.
Oh my God.
So,
there is so much on the internet. Oh my God, there is so much. And every time you think you figured it out, they know so much more than we do,
And yes, when I catch, like at school, they would say, okay, I see, how did you do that? And they tell me, I'm like, oh, I would have never thought of that.
Right.
So.
Even kids, have you ever seen little kids that's easy as 1 or 2? Have you seen how they find their way around the internet?
Yes.
They give them a phone and they're like, and you're like, what? I mean, they know their way around online. And so as much as we have those protective devices or protective apps, we can protect them from, you're saying they're getting their way around the VPN, right?
Yeah, they use a VPN to get around, and there's free ones. They just install it, and it's done. They can full access everything.
Well, that's it. Okay.
I would say make conversation just part of your daily routine, whether it's on your drive to school. I know time is limited. It's not the same as, when our parents back in our day. So on your drive to school, maybe while you're preparing dinner, you guys are together, just having those uncomfortable conversations where you just go into different topics, where it's on the internet, just different things. That's how you build trust, and you allow your children to now be comfortable coming to you and having those type of conversations, because they will go to others and ask questions.
Yes, and don't be afraid to go in the phones, and see who they're talking to, what they're talking about, because that could be a missed opportunity again to just raise their consciousness. Sometimes they're not even aware how much of a danger they are to themselves. So you need to be able to talk to them about certain things. And of course, as much as you can, you are still the parent. You can limit the phone access, okay? You could take it away. You can tell them, listen, go read a book. This is time for you to, go engage in something, find ways to include them or have them engaging in other things rather than on their phone or doing something else.
And internet time shouldn't be privacy time. They don't need to be behind a locked door while they're on the computer. Why can you not be on your iPad on the couch while I'm preparing dinner? That way, you at least can hear your inherent of what is, being said, what they're watching, and so on. But if they're on the computer and then they're also in their bedroom, if the door closed and the door locked, then you definitely don't know what is going on. So,
What I have done to kind of engage in his life is, do I like Fortnite? No. Do I? But I've actually gone in the game. Yeah, I can die 1,000 times. I hear who he's talking to because I'm playing on the same thing he's playing.
Okay.
So that's what I've kind of do to kind of mitigate and see who he's talking to a lot. He did have a lot of, I guess his friend he met, it was online. But I talked to the friend. I've actually talked to the friend's mom. So if they are having friends, just meeting people online, which is what is done, that will happen. Find out who these people are and have them share very limited information with these people.
True. Yes. And again, it goes back to having conversations. Again, thank you, Mark and Shanta, for joining me at the Kind of House Studios. Thank you, Kind of House, again for producing yet another episode. We're looking forward to the next episode. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to surprise you. That way you look forward to see what is next. Thank you to Kitron Evans for his wonderful input and for sharing with us, that awareness is very much needed. You could check out his information also that he shared with you. Again, our children are our business, it takes a village. And so we all have to do what we can to help one another to protect our children as best as we can. Thank you and have a great day. Be a buddy.